Hello, everyone. Welcome back to North Shore 9, and it is Neil and Doug Go to the Movies. Today, we get to talk about not one movie, but lots of movies. But, Doug, did you know that there's one movie about the Pittsburgh Pirates that's sweeping the Oscars right now?
Seen that one yet? Which one is that?
It's called Poor Things.
Poor Things. No. Don't take your children out to see that, people.
Yeah, it's not a Sunday block party on Federal Street.
Yeah. There's I enjoyed that movie, but don't take your kids.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's something I'm desperately want to see. But yeah, so we're going to talk.
And it also has a happier ending than the typical Pirates movie would. So.
More hopeful.
Yeah, definitely more hopeful.
Well, today we are going to talk about the movie recommendation Hot Fuzz, which I recommended last time. But we're also, it's Oscar season. So I figured we should talk about some of the Oscar noms, anything that we think should be snubbed, what we think should win Best Picture, some acting performances we liked. So, yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about the Oscars to start. But first, Doug, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I've been on a movie watching binge, which has been nice. Mm-hmm. I don't get out to the theater too much anymore. I usually wait for streaming, but I went to the theater to see Poor Things and to see American Fiction. And I'm happy that I did. I enjoyed both movies. The stuff I saw on streaming has been good. It's been fun. I've been, sort of neglecting the movies and watching a lot of TV series, and and certainly neglecting going out to the theater. And it was just nice to be watching it on a huge screen. And these movies that we're going to see were I think 5 people. Yeah, Poor Things, and maybe there was like 3 or 4 at American Fiction. And shame on you, the rest of you have missed out. These are some good movies. So yeah, they're unusual. They're different. They don't follow the typical paradigm for what they're not Marvel movies, I guess is the.
It had poor George Clooney, who wanted his Oscar bait movie in his directorial debut. And when I went to go see Boy in a Boat with my parents, there were 5.
That's not his directorial debut, though. He directed what was it, the one with Sam Rockwell, the Chuck Berry character. He's directed like 4 or 5 movies. So
oh wow, okay.
Early 2000s, he went on a little directing binge, and he made some decent movies, but I think we established that he's not that good a director.
Boy in the Boat is firmly like what I call a dad movie. It's one of those comfort movies that you go watch with your parents.
Yeah, I heard Ann Hornaday, the critic of the Washington Post, say that, right, this is just a standard, solid, just, paint by numbers kind of movie. Literally follows the script, right? And you kind of know what you're getting. And it's
my parents. Me, my parents, and the 5 people in the crowd enjoyed it too. But yeah, I feel you about going to the movies, because I used to go to the movie theater like 15 times a year at least. And, I used to live in DC, and so there's this art house theater that would show the movies I'd want to watch. And I'd go there a lot. But now, ever since COVID hit, I don't get out there anymore.
Yeah, that's what kind of happened to me too. When I lived in Chicago for 5 years, and I probably went to 150 movies, or at least 100 a year. Same thing. We had the art house theater, so I was able to see The Cook, The Thief, His Wife, His Lover, Cinema Paradiso, all these ones that would never play in the multiplex. Yeah. And then all the great big blockbuster stuff. And I went all the time. Stopped going after I got married, because my wife, who had told me that she loved movies, turns out didn't. She loved going with the big crowd. But then when my son was born, or a couple years after he was born, I had the excuse of, I can now go to Harry Potter, and I'm just being a good dad, not just a guy who would have went to this movie on his own. I remember when The Lion King came out, I was a general manager of a Bennigan's, and I was working at night, and I'm like, I'm going to go see The Lion King. I'm the first showing at 12 o'clock, and it's me, and a bunch of moms and their kids, and I'm like, they're all like, "Hey, stay away from that man." You know, so, I don't know what he's doing here. You know? So it was great that now I have this kid to take along. He's like, "No, Daddy, I don't want to see Pokemon." You're going. You know, so.
See, and also, I don't know, the movie going experience has been ruined for me because when I was in college, there was an Alamo Draft House not far away. And one of my suite mates was a big movie guy. Like, we went to go watch The Lighthouse, like, at the Virginia Film Festival together. And the Alamo Draft House has ruined the movie going experience. It's so good. You get the nice reclined seats. They will bring you food. They kick people out for talking or going on their phone. It is the best experience. And so
they're awesome with the food. They're so, like, they don't distract you at all. They just kind of sneak in, drop it off, sneak out. I know. It's and the other thing is like I said, there's nobody at the theater anymore. I mean, I didn't like it packed, but I liked people being there. You want that universal experience.
Yeah.
And now, like I said, it's me, my sister, my niece, and 2 other people. And it's like, oh, we could have watched this at home and had, and paused when I had to go pee.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess this is a good segue because I think there is one movie that, like, I'm really happy that I saw in theater, and that is Oppenheimer.
Yes.
And even though it's mostly a movie about people talking,
right, in small rooms,
right. just that build up to the bomb, I'm glad I saw. So I guess we'll start talking about the actual movies that we saw. Right. So I guess we could start with it. Oppenheimer is kind of like the first like big Oscar movie that came out this year. I think
it came out in July. I think it was right around July. 4th. Yeah.
I did the Barbenheimer with my brothers, and I went with my mom, and so there's like I remember my mom saying, "I can't believe that I'm taking my 3 sons to see the Barbie movie."
Yeah, that's
and none of
I didn't. Right. I saw Oppenheimer at the theater, but Barbie I waited for streaming. And I don't know that if I love Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, who wrote the screenplay, and Greta Gerwig, directed. I just don't know. It just didn't seem like, my interest at all. So I'm not sure that I would have watched it. I might have gotten around to it, but once it got nominated and we decided to do this, I thought I'll go see Barbie. And it was much better than I expected. It was, fun to look at. I thought Margot Robbie was terrific in it. Playing sort of I mean, she was acting in this, you know what I'm saying? She wasn't just being Margot Robbie. She was wide-eyed and innocent and trying to figure out everything that was going on. I thought she was terrific. I don't know if she deserved an Oscar nomination necessarily, but Greta Gerwig if you nominate that movie for Best Picture, Greta Gerwig has to be nominated as Best Director. I don't see, this happens every couple of years, but it didn't make any sense to me.
No, I mean, so I liked Barbie overall. Yeah. So we'll start, but it was disappointing because when I go see a Greta Gerwig movie, she set the bar too high. Little Women is such a good movie. It has no business being so good. It's so great. Like, everything about Little Women is great, and so that's kind of like the bar she set for me.
And Lady Bird too.
Yeah, Lady Bird.
I like Lady Bird.
It connects with like other people I know more than it connected with me. But like, so Barbie was just a little disappointing, and it's a good movie. Margot Robbie is fantastic, but for me, and maybe it's because I'm a guy, maybe I'm a guy, but the movie really started the drag whenever Ryan Gosling was not on screen. Like, Ryan Gosling was the best part of Barbie for me, and it wasn't particularly close. He was so charming. He was hilarious. Yeah. Like, every time.
He was so dumb, right? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was just so dumb and played it so well. I mean, and we, it's good. We know how smart he is and how clever he is. And he just, kind of disappeared into that role. I wasn't disappointed in the movie, but only because I had no expectations.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
that sort of gets me to like Killers of the Flower Moon. I wasn't disappointed, but it's not a top 5 Scorsese movie. It's a good movie.
I'd have to sit down and debate that with you because I loved Killers of the Flower Moon. Like, but my biggest hot take is that this is like top 3 De Niro performance of all time. He was
that's a statement.
Incredible.
Godfather 2,
like
Raging Bull, Goodfellas.
Yes.
This is a hot take, Stephen A.
I am willing to, I have never seen a character on screen be so effortlessly evil.
Yeah.
It was
he was great. Right.
It was incredible.
He was great. And not playing his typical,
mm-hmm.
When he plays sort of the bad guy, evil. No, this was, like you said, this guy was evil incarnate, right? And every single thing he did was to,
mm-hmm. And I think that's why it's probably top 3 for me, just because I've seen Scorsese as I've seen De Niro as the evil mobster, or the guy who like carries the story, but I've never seen him just like be like this quiet, calm, meticulous sort of like presence. And
he just stood back and calculated throughout the.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't actually, we never saw him do anything even, evil
mm-hmm.
or, usually they show some sort of, but yeah, he was back there just pulling the strings. So it was good. I didn't like Leo's performance in this movie.
You didn't?
I just felt like part of the time that he was playing Billy Bob Thornton in Sling Blade, with the, I just, Leo has that problem that a lot of, he's so charming and he's so good looking. And then when he's playing against that, I think they kind of go overboard. It's like, all right, buddy, you don't have to make it that bad. We get it. You're not handsome in this movie. So I don't know. I didn't, he did not get nominated. But I didn't think it was a particularly egregious snub.
I'm not upset that he didn't get nominated. I liked him, but I don't think it was like his best by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
I'm glad Robert De Niro got nominated. I'm very glad Lily Gladstone got nominated because I've seen that they're like all she did was look sad and sick. I'm like, did you watch the movie?
Right. She also looked soulful, right? And that was kind of, you could see through her what was happening to her people. She carried a lot. She was sort of the center of that movie in a lot of ways. So I
feel
agree.
Like the emotional burden on her at all times. Like I thought her performance was excellent. I'm okay with Margot Robbie not getting nominated if it means that Lily Gladstone got nominated.
Right. Absolutely. And again, it was a subtle performance, and often the Bradley Cooper and Maestro. It is a show, flamboyant, over the top, and that's often what we're used to seeing in Oscar. It's Rain Man and it's Charlize Theron in Monster. So when you get this, my favorite example of that is actually Denzel Washington in Man on Fire. He gives this subtle, underplayed, underacted performance, and I don't think he gets nominated. He goes over the top in Training Day, and he wins. And to me, the Man on Fire performance is much better. The Training Day is great. I'm not dissing that performance in any way, but to me, his Man on Fire performance was a much better performance. So when we see a Lily Gladstone, you're like, oh, she didn't. Right. Well, that's right. She didn't overact, and but she was still acting, and it was a terrific performance.
Yeah, and I think the biggest credit for this movie, and Scorsese's always been good at this, but that did not feel like a 3.5 hour movie.
No, it moved.
That movie flew by, and I was hooked the entire time.
Yeah, because it's is it 3.5? It's 3.5 hours. I mean, that was part of what kept me from watching it. And therefore, I'm like, oh man. But yeah, you watch it, it's like, wow, the credits already. So yeah, it's a good movie.
I would not yet. Maybe it's like recency bias, but like I do think like it's one of Scorsese's like better movies. But he's also made so many like just great movies one after another that if this isn't even close in your top 5, like I would get that. But for me, this
I mean, it's again, that's a subjective thing, and he's like you said, he just keeps cranking them out. So
I love a slow. I love a slow burn of a movie, and Scorsese finally gave me a slow burn of a movie, and I'm thankful for that. It hit all the dots for me, and it was really interesting because like I really didn't know anything about these murders.
Right. Yeah, that was I had no idea that an Indian tribe had struck oil. And then we do what we did, and took it away. But that was educational for me.
Just the attention to detail about the what's it, Oswego? I'm gonna mispronounce it.
The Osage
people. Like it's a really cool insight into like a group of people that like you never learn about these people.
Right. Yes. History is written by the winners. So it's you've seen Good Will Hunting, right?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Okay. There's that scene where he's talking down the blonde-haired kid and saying, first you're going to say this, and tomorrow you're going to come in and say this, and after you read this, he said, but what you should do is read the People's History of the United States. And he's right. I went out and got that book, and it's a history book starting with Columbus landing in wherever he landed, not America necessarily, but and it tells the story of the losing side. So it's really interesting. You're like, oh,
I have like as a history guy, I have some issues with that book. I think.
Oh yeah.
I think it's very like not to turn this into a history debate, but
right, yeah.
It tells the side of a story, but it's also like very biased, and the sources are kind of shoddy. So,
sure, but it's I mean, it's similar to other history books that are just that are also biased, and that's what I'm saying. It just gives you a look at the other side, and I mean, I'm always reluctant to get when I say I learned stuff from this movie, I'm reluctant to get my history from movies and television.
No, I don't blame you.
A whole generation.
You could tell the attention to detail like Scorsese had to depict this group of people, and it shows on screen. And I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, what more can you say about Martin Scorsese?
Yeah.
He's just brilliant.
I will be there
every level. Right.
I will be there in theaters as long as he keeps making movies, like no matter what it is.
You said you saw American Fiction. What are your thoughts on that?
It was okay.
Ooh, see, I really liked it. I thought it was scathingly funny.
I really, really liked Sterling K. Brown.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
The character he played, and I understand what I was going for, he wasn't very likable, at least to me. But I
Jeffrey Wright or
what?
Jeffrey Wright or Sterling K. Brown, who wasn't the likable. Yeah, he was. There was nobody real likable in that except maybe Lorraine, the cleaning lady.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was very funny, and my it was for me at least on my very legal streaming service that I watched this on. I got to hear the laughters of the audience in the theater with it, so
nice.
It was like I was in the theater.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it in the theater, and I could hear the laughter too. But like I said, it was the three of us, so.
Which is a shame because like this was a big like a really advertised movie.
No, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I liked Jeffrey Wright's performance. Sterling K. Brown's performance was just fantastic. The movie was really, really funny. I mean, we're gonna write I'm gonna write a book as a joke, and then be mad when people want to publish it as kind of a flimsy, like, okay, who would get this joke? Right. You know what I'm saying? Because you're expecting them all to reject it. So I mean, you got to suspend your belief or disbelief either way. And
I see. I enjoy. I don't think it's hard to like disbelieve. Like I could 100% see something like that happen. Like maybe not as on the nose. And I think that's where like my biggest, like where I thought it was okay is because I like my subtle, dry humor. This movie is not subtle. It is very on the nose, and it reminded me a lot of it's not remotely the same, but like I felt the same way about First Reformed. where First Reformed just could not stop beating you over the head with what it's trying to say. And I kind of felt that watching American Fiction.
Yeah, I didn't see First Reformed, so I can't speak on that. But I like that movie, and to me, it's a top contender for Best Picture. I don't think it'll win. I think it's going to be either Oppenheimer or Flowers of the Moon. But it was. I found it was just bitterly, scathingly funny, and I enjoyed that.
I did enjoy the scathiness, and there are genuinely really good moments in this movie, and. I do like the attempted growth of the family trying to come back together, picking up the broken pieces. It just it didn't do what I wanted it to. It didn't do what it thinks it was doing for me, at least. But I completely understand. Everyone else I've talked to absolutely loves this movie, so this might just be a me problem.
Yeah, and I'm a huge Jeffrey Wright fan too. He makes everything he's in better. So.
Jeffrey Wright was fantastic.
I would love to see him win the Academy Award.
The casting was great. No bad performances really. I think it was just the way it was written that I wasn't the biggest fan.
All right, but, you didn't see Maestro. Right?
No, I got to be completely honest. I had zero interest in seeing Bradley Cooper desperately try to win an Oscar.
That's exactly what I'm going to say about this movie. This is Bradley Cooper trying to. It's a vanity project for Bradley Cooper to win an Oscar. There are so many close-ups of him directed. It's just stop. Now I'll tell you this. The movie is again. It's another one of, and it shares this with Poor Things. There's a lot of black and white. And then they go to color. I don't like the movies where there's the East Coast snobbery. Everybody's smoking and saying, "Darling, one has to look at oneself and these situations and find what one can do." And that's his wife, Carey Mulligan, that she was doing a Katharine Hepburn impersonation of me, and I'm like, okay, stop it. It was just there wasn't much to. And I had this other pet peeve in movies, a standard movie trope: the woman marries a doctor or she marries a cop, and she marries him when he has those jobs, and then complains all the time. You're never at home. You're out trying to save lives and solve crimes, and I hate that. You married him when he was a cop. What did you think he was going to not be a cop? And this girl, she actually proposes to Leonard Bernstein and says, "I know exactly what you are, and I'll accept what it is." And then she's mad that he, that's the whole conflict of the movie, her not being happy with, So I'm like, lady, you signed up for it.
It almost sounds like, and I felt like I have seen the movie already.
Yeah.
There is not going to be a single thing that surprises me about seeing Maestro. And Bradley Cooper, I'm sorry you didn't win for A Star Is Born. I really am. Right. You didn't deserve the win, but it was a fine movie.
You've been nominated several times, and you'll get one. It might be one of those 10 years from now when they say, "Man, the guy's been nominated 7 times. This is a pretty good performance. It's not his best, but those happen all the time with the Oscars."
I think with this group of people who are nominated for actor, though, it would be pretty awful if Bradley Cooper won.
Oh yeah, no.
Even if I wasn't the biggest fan of American Fiction, Jeffrey Wright deserves that way more than Bradley.
Cooper. Jeffrey Wright's performance is much better. Cillian Murphy? Cillian Murphy. It's Cillian Murphy. His performance was better. I haven't seen Rustin with Coleman Domingo, but I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it's a better, it's a better performance. And I've seen 4 of the 5. Paul Giamatti, right.
But we will talk. Okay, so we mentioned Oppenheimer, so let's talk about it because and people call me contrarian to be contrarian, but I'm not a huge Christopher Nolan guy.
And I'm kind of with you there because I don't need every movie to blow my mind. Sometimes I just want to see a good, well acted, well written, well directed movie beginning to end. I don't need time portals and entering dreams and things going backwards and time travel that I still don't understand.
Yeah. So my thing is, like, Christopher Nolan tries to be too smart, and he is obsessed with like manipulating time in these movies. And the worst part about Oppenheimer for me is that first half hour where it's like zooming everywhere, flip flopping through time, and it's not the same thing. But the first half hour is not great for me. But after the first half hour, this movie had me completely hooked. And again, I'm not a big Christopher Nolan guy, but this is one of his best. This is his best since The Prestige.
Yeah. I love this movie. And again, part of it I think is because I went in there with expectations and he's gonna just try to fascinate us and mesmerize us, just tell the story. And I'm like, this is a straight story to tell. The building of the bomb, right? And you're right. In the beginning, they zip and zoom, and you're like, okay, But then you're right. It settles down, and it just tells the story, and the story. I mean, it's fascinating, and there's so much going on, and then it's heartbreaking in ways. With Emily Blunt and what's the other girl's name? Please help me. The fair. What's her name?
Florence Pugh.
She's the Black Widow's sister. What is her? That's going to drive me crazy now.
I actually don't know.
It sucks getting old people. Don't do it. But yes, it's a really, really good. I loved Robert Downey Jr.'s performance in this.
Best performance of Downey's career? He was
I think so.
He was as much of a presence as Robert De Niro was in Killers of the Flower Moon. Like he completely took this movie over, and he was incredible.
Yeah, I agree. He was just terrific. And, it kind of makes me mad that he spent 13 years just playing Iron Man. I know he did.
Yes, I agree.
It's just like, he's such a good actor. And look, he was great as Iron Man, and I loved him as Iron Man. But we could have got more, and he's such a talent. And I know, early he struggled, and that cost us some films. And but man, he was great in this. And I'm cheering. I'm hoping that he wins the best.
Yeah, for me, I think Downey Jr. I think De Niro had like the best performance, but I think he's won stuff before, right? Like he's already won stuff.
Yeah. Let's see. He won Best Supporting for, I think, Godfather 2. He won Best Actor for Raging Bull. I know he's got those, and there might be something else in there somewhere.
Because he's already won, Robert Downey Jr. winning, I would not be upset.
I'd be thrilled. I'm on board. I've been a big fan of his right from. Shoot, I liked him in Weird Science, for crying out loud, back 100 years ago. So,
yeah. No, I mean. And not to take away from Cillian Murphy, but and the last hour of Oppenheimer is the best part. Like as soon as they leave Los Alamos, that's when the movie goes from a 7 or an 8 out of 10 for me, and the last hour is just a straight 10 out of 10. It is so interesting, and it's just people talking. Just people talking, right? And it's so
that's what Anatomy of a Fall. Anatomy of a Fall is just people talking. Also nominated for Best Picture. I watched this last night. And it's also it's really a really good movie. There's not a single person in there that you'd recognize. It's a French film, but it's mostly spoken in English. There's a lot of French being spoke, but it's not by people. They don't even put subtitles up for it. It's it's a husband, a wife, and a son, and they're a lawyer, that sort of thing. The husband falls or is pushed out of a third story, and that's it's Anatomy of that Fall. Did he fall or was he pushed? Is the was it suicide or was it murder? And they said it's people talking, and it's got some courtroom scenes. So, but good.
It looks really
about
good.
This movie. Yeah, I knew nothing about this movie, and I'm glad that we did this because I wouldn't have seen it. I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have French, remote cabin in the Alps. I'll wait. So
I'll quickly touch on Holdovers because I really enjoy it. I mean, we already talked about this before on the first podcast, so I'm not going to belabor it. It's fantastic. It's a Christmas classic. I would not nominate it for Best Picture.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, and I it's for your reasonings on Barbie that you were disappointed. It's my reasons that I was disappointed in this. It's not Sideways, and I don't even know that it's not even The Descendants. I don't know. Election. I mean, Alexander Payne has made some really really good movies, and this one's good. Like I said, it's a Christmas movie. It's a good solid Christmas movie. It's a classic Christmas movie. I'm with you. It'll be, if we do it at that again, it'll be on my top 10. It'll bump somebody, but not sure. I mean, it could be nominated. It could be nominated because we have 10 now instead of 5. But if we had 5 nominees, I don't think it'd be on the list.
Yeah, and I'll say this: I don't think it should have been nominated, but I am so happy Paul Giamatti got nominated for Best Actor for this.
Yeah.
I think his performance is genuinely great. Like, so
it really is. Yeah, if he wins, like he should have won for Sideways. So, this could be one of those payback Oscars. I hope. Again, I won't be mad if he wins.
I wouldn't be mad. I think it would be wrong though, as much as I enjoyed it.
You're probably right. Right.
I mean,
it's not the best performance. I don't think it's his best performance, but
no,
that's how Oscars work sometimes, right?
Yeah.
The Oscars,
I think
Denzel should have won for
Jeffrey
Malcolm X.
I think Oppenheimer and American Fiction have better claims for Best Actor.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Murphy was really good as well.
I think we just have one more to talk about.
Past Lives.
Yes.
And Past Lives is, two 12-year-old Korean kids living in Seoul. They're best friends. And then the girl's family moves to Toronto or to Canada. I think they go to Toronto. And 12 years later, they look each other up online and have an intense online, Zoom or Skype. They use Skype relationship. At one point, she finally says to him, "How soon can you come to New York?" And he's like, "It'll be a year and a half." They're doing school, and she's trying to become a playwright, and then she's like, "Well, then we should stop talking because, like, I think I don't have anything left for an online affair,
Yeah.
And then 12 years later, she's married, and they reach out to each other, and he comes to New York, and it's a movie that sort of has a love triangle. Now there's the husband, this old friend and her, and you want both guys to win. It's like it's just really compelling relationships, and it's a really good movie. Again, I don't know. It
sounds like
Best Picture.
Yeah, it sounds like another version of the Before trilogy.
Yeah, kind of a little bit of a little of that. You're right. I mean, the 12 years, they're together at 12, 24, and 36. So yeah, there's some similarities. And right, and then it's time and obligations and work that and relationships that keep them apart. So yeah, that is a pretty good comparison. It doesn't have the feel of those movies. Like they don't ever have those great conversations necessarily, especially in the first 2/3 of the movie. They have there is a scene where they're talking in Korean and the husband's sitting at the bar. He's just sitting there and they're talking to each other, and it's just heartbreaking. Like he's how he's excluded out of this, and he understands. I mean, it's really something. It's one of those movies that I watch it and I'm like, well, that's okay. And then 2 days later, I'm still thinking about it, and I'm thinking about that scene and some other. And it's like it kind of stays with you. It's a slow burn as well, as far as just how you experience that movie. So I enjoyed it. I'm glad I saw it.
I'm going to watch it. I'm always trying to expand my foreign movie tastes because there are so many good just foreign movies, and I may recommend one soon just because I have a lot of people I know who refuse to watch movies with subtitles. that new stuff. And
I don't even notice
you were
them.
missing out.
The first 2 minutes, it's a little. Then I don't even notice them after that. I remember the first movie I went and saw with subtitles was Cinema Paradiso, and if you haven't seen it, Neil, do. It's a terrific Italian movie. This young kid goes to work with the local film projectionist and just falls in love with movies, and I mean it's just awesome. It's one of my all-time favorite movies, and yeah, I mean. At first, it's like, oh God, I got to read. I didn't come here to do homework, But man, I loved it. I loved it, and I'm glad that I discovered that because then again, and I was living in Chicago, so it was easy to go. Like I said, you had the art house theaters, and saw quite a few foreign films, and realized that I shouldn't be such a snob and missed out.
Like Bong Joon-ho, the director of Parasite, said, once you overcome the 1-inch tall barrier of subtitles, you will be open to an entire new world of movies. And it's true.
I think it's especially important now for me as because I mean I like movies that have people in rooms talking, and they don't make those movies too much anymore, right? They don't make them. They don't make them in America. They still make them. And it's, as I said, Anatomy of a Fall was that way, Past Lives. I like, where people have intense discussion and I don't need any CGI or explosions or anything to move the story along. It's just the characters and the dialogue, the script and the acting. So, I'm right. It's good. Watch some foreign films. You'll expand your world.
Speaking of foreign films, we have our movie recommendation.
Yes. One of the all-time classic foreign films, right?
So last week, I
did watch that with subtitles, by the way.
I did too.
Because I always, the English accents sometimes are tough.
So it's hard to understand, but we watched Hot Fuzz, one of my favorite directors and one of my favorite satires of a genre, Hot Fuzz. So Hot Fuzz is a story of a detective, Nicholas Angel, and he's a big-time city cop in London.
Right.
He's the best of the best, and he's transferred out to a little small town in the country of England. And
he's transferred out because he's such a good cop.
Yeah,
he's so good. He's getting so many citations. He's making all the others look bad. So they run him out of town, basically, send him out to this country village.
Yeah, and what turns out to be a mockery of the cop type turns out to have like one of the best stories of most cop movies. It's great.
Surprising, right?
You wouldn't have expected it, but it is.
Doug,
what did you think of Hot Fuzz?
I really, really enjoyed it. I loved Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. The first time I came across him was Shaun of the Dead, which was the spoof and the satire of the zombie movies, which was just terrific. I think Hot Fuzz came next, and then I think it was Paul. I liked all three of them. Shaun of the Dead is still the best to me, but I really there were so many things I liked about Hot Fuzz. I like Simon Pegg being the badass. Usually he's just comic relief, like he is in Mission Impossible. And in just every movie, he's been sort of a nerdy, goofy guy. And in this, he is super cop. I like they did another one of my favorite things when you take these movies that are not serious movies, but they got a bunch of serious actors.
Yes.
They got Jim Broadbent. And I want to say shout out to Jim Broadbent. Jim Broadbent is an Oscar winner. He's always been a heavyset guy. He's lost a bunch of weight. I get the feeling that he is subscribing to the Chris Gates fitness newsletter because he looks good. Dude's got to be 70, and he slimmed up. I was impressed. But it's got Timothy Dalton. It's got Olivia Colman. She was in The Crown and The Favorite.
I couldn't believe when I saw we were rewatching this. I'm like, this has Olivia Colman in it?
Right. So you get these good people in small parts. And it just elevates the material. It's like, okay, we know this is supposed to be a spoof and a satire, but they're taking it seriously. And to me, that always works best when you want to tell something that's ridiculous. have everybody just sort of go for it. And they were. It was funny. Like I said, I didn't see, what I thought was going to be a simple murder mystery. Not, it was funny. It was inventive. It was well acted and well written. The dialogue was great. Nick Frost was terrific. Yeah. So now I do blame this movie for one thing.
Yeah.
When Jim Broadbent is explaining to Nick Angel there why they're so concerned with the winning the Village of the Year award, and his wife, it was his wife who wanted to do it, and he said she wanted to make Sandford great again. And I get the feeling that Trump or one of his lackeys saw this movie and said, "Hey, maybe." So I sort of hold Edgar Wright
responsible. It's actually kind of crazy how that came up. I'm like, oh no, it's like now we got 2016 politics in here. Yeah.
And this was a 2007 movie. So
I chose this over Shaun of the Dead because I was considering them, but this is the first of Edgar Wright movies that I've seen.
Okay.
And the biggest thing I love about Edgar Wright, and this is all over Shaun of the Dead 2, which is in At World's End, his visual style and his visual comedy is just top notch. Like the way that he just like makes the mundane police work like super so many shots, flashing lights, like when you see Simon Skinner come to his office and he's smiling and he's got like the portrait behind him also smiling. Like his style is unmatched. And I think that's what I enjoy.
Exactly. So I mean, there's a lot of times people do these kind of spoof and satire and just wacky things, but the whole movie, they're just winking at us into the camera. They're not taking it seriously. That's when Edgar Wright's making a movie, right? He's making a film. And he's serious about it, and he is putting in the work. Like I said, great shots. Oh, there was something else too in the background. I can't remember now, but I mean, he is an excellent filmmaker. I'd like to see him take on some serious subject matter and just tell a straight drama or something, just to see what he can do, because he does great cinematography.
He tried that with Last Night in Soho. And people hated that movie.
Really? I haven't seen it, but I'd heard.
I really liked Last Night in Soho, but people did not like serious Edgar Wright. But this is his real.
It's like serious Julia Roberts.
This is, but that's the thing. Like all these people, all these great British actors are coming together to play basically caricatures in very small roles, and that way it's kind of similar to Ocean's 11. You have like this huge cast of people who don't get a whole lot of screen time, but when they're on screen, you remember them. Like you remember Simon Skinner, you remember Martin Blower, you remember Olivia Colman, even Martin. Like I said before, Martin Freeman's on screen for like 2 minutes.
Yeah,
and
that might be that scene with Martin Freeman and then Steve Coogan and Bill Nighy. That might be my favorite scene in the movie. Right? It's just because it was hilarious, and these are three heavyweights. These are three. Well, I don't want to say, but I mean, they're three successful, funny, good actors, and and that's it. Well, okay, they do show up later, but I mean, they're not part of the movie, Yeah, and it's like, wow, they just come in and they come in throwing 105 out of the bullpen. You're like, wow, that's terrific. Same thing. Like Olivia Colman has a small part. Timothy Dalton has a small part. The bar owner and his wife, and the florist, and you're just you're not expecting much from them. The security whiz at the police station. You just like they're just all terrific, top notch performers. And again, just elevates the material to making it such a good movie. So funny.
I will say it's a little hard seeing a bunch of Game of Thrones actors in this.
Yeah.
I also recently restarted watching Game of Thrones, and so like the Hound is in this. Like he's the Yarp guy.
Oh yeah, that's right. Holy cow! Yeah,
Rory McCann, like David Bradley, who's Walder Frey is in this movie. Like it's it's
and the Walter Frey guy is also in the Harry Potter films too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but that's it. I mean, and it's another good reason to watch English films because they've got a lot of good actors, and they don't, because they're not all beautiful and they don't get the roles in the American movies. Man, they're good.
Mm-hmm. So like I know I mentioned earlier, like the humor and like American fiction wasn't my biggest thing. But this type of humor is my jam. Like I've seen this movie 7 to 10 times, and it's funny to me every single time I watch it.
Jim Rosati didn't seem to like it. I don't know. Did he change his mind? It's a Jim Rosati, halfway through wasn't thrilled, but I never got his final review. So I was wondering.
Yeah, he said he liked it at the end.
Yeah, but I just thought it was funny. I just, it's what the movies is coming in and it delivers, right? And that's what sometimes one of the hardest things to do. We know exactly what you're aiming to do here, and he pulls it off flawlessly. Like
you have like
Edgar Wright. So.
you have the two detectives who are just like like those like kind of like asshole characters. Like he gets
their least favorite part of the movie, if I had to say, because they Patty Considine is a good actor. They were a little too over the top for me. And in a movie where everybody is over the top, I just but they came around quickly when the time was right. So. But yeah,
I like them a lot, but like I think what carries the movie mostly is like you have this great supporting cast, right? But the reason that there's an entire trilogy is because Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are just so darn good together. The chemistry,
so likable, such great chemistry, right?
Every single time, it's like really funny, no matter what they're playing. You can't help but like laugh when they're talking to one another.
No, it is. It's. I mean, they've got a great bromance, and it's. I wish, like I said, I'm going to watch the most recent Mission Impossible here in the next day or so, and I'm like, get Nick Frost in there with you, buddy. Had just one scene with Nick Frost,
You can
do like one less scene with Tom Cruise and one more with Nick. Have Nick Frost in there with Simon Pegg.
You can just like make it like Ocean's 12, or like you just throw Bruce Willis in there for 10 minutes and have him leave.
Exactly. Right. It just kind of break the fourth wall a little. Don't think Tom would go for that, but
this movie doesn't break the fourth wall. But you're right, like it is like winking at you the entire time. Like it is telling you not to take it seriously, but then like it's just like a good story, and like not only is it like a scathing like criticism of the police type movie and like taking everything so seriously and everything so over the top, but then like also it's just like it's almost like criticizing like almost like the suburbs.
Yeah, I was going to say these small villages are sort of our version of the American suburbs, and we've spoofed these kind of things. Bad Moms spoofing like the PTA. There's American Beauty, sort of its take on the dark side of the suburbs. I mean, there's been a ton of Alexander Payne has done that, with a movie like Election, and Tom Perrotta, his books. There's a ton of books that do that sort of, So right, it's like you've got this what looks to be from the outside this peaceful, idyllic village where just everybody knows everybody and everybody looks out for everybody, and then you find out the dirty secret. So if you haven't seen it, watch Hot Fuzz, boys.
It's great. And I really like the plot threads, where like he's doing all that insane detective work, and like he's got motive for everyone, he's got everything covered, all his bases covered, and then they just laugh. I was like, no, we just didn't like him. and it's like people are like that simple, like people. Most people are not like that nefarious. They just have very simple reasons for not liking one another, and so
for the greater good.
For the greater good.
For the greater good.
Every time, and honestly, it is like the callbacks. The callbacks are great. Like because movies can be annoying. Movies can be really annoying when they have all those callback jokes.
Right.
Hot Fuzz and Edgar Wright know how to do it right. Like they mentioned the greater good at the beginning. All the talks about going to the pub, and then they don't want anything from the shop. Like it is all just. It's so well timed. Like
when he comes across them around that table chanting the first time. And then they're chanting, and then all of a sudden they say, before we get started, Lucy Miller is having a baby shower, and we're all invited. And then they go, I'm like, what? I laughed, man. I love that part. And there's just a bunch of little, sort of throwaway lines that just are just terrific.
The switch off from like the nice townspeople talking about the everyday goings. Oh, we're having the funds for the church roof, and we're just preparing for the contest, and then immediately turn around and like stab someone in the neck with pruners. Like
because she was going to move. Right. So, I mean, this is a thumbs up movie. I got a big kick out of it.
What would you give Hot Fuzz out of 10?
Oh, it's a solid 8.5.
Okay.
Like I said, I like a lot of types of humor. I'm up for just about anything. And again, it's sarcastic and it's cynical and it's satirical but you've got great people delivering the lines and great people writing the lines. And it just, I've said this several times, but the material, it just gets elevated. I wouldn't say it's standard material because it's very clever and inventive. But yeah, I mean, like I said, they spoof the cop action film and they spoof the suburbs and they have just terrifically talented people doing it. And I like Jim didn't like the first half, I guess, and ended up, but I liked it from the beginning. Like I said, the meeting, when they ship him out was hilarious to me. I was hooked. He does all this thing.
It is a slow beginning.
I forgot Kate Blanchett's in this movie.
But I love
never takes off her SWAT team mask, right?
Even though it's slow, I love when they do the tour of the police station and like the evidence room is empty, the riot gear is dusty, like
cobwebs all over it, right?
Yeah, like they have the conspiracy guy cooped up in the security room, like it's so good.
And again, he was telling us, look, he's there again, the fake statue man. It's like, why are you bothered by a guy?
The biggest crime you can commit is loitering. Yeah.
No miming in Sandford Village there.
Everything else is a little accident,
Yeah.
But yeah, 9 out of 10 for me. Love this movie. I will say Shaun of the Dead is the best of the trilogy.
Yeah, but I agree with you there.
Still, this movie hits.
Right, that's a 10. So
yeah, this movie hits all the right things for me. One of my favorites. But
excellent.
I think we have a recommendation from you this time around.
Yes, we do. Now, I've narrowed it down to 2 movies, and then I've decided, and we'll do both of them, so it doesn't matter. But 2 of my favorite 2 movies in my top 10 was either going to be Man on Fire, which I talked to earlier in my favorite Denzel movie, my favorite Denzel performance, and or Midnight Run. Midnight Run, I bet you haven't seen. Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin. And when we're discussing favorite De Niro performances, this is my favorite Robert De Niro performance.
All right.
So we're going to watch and we're going to discuss here in 2 weeks Midnight Run with Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin.
I have not seen this. You are right, but I will never.
You're welcome.
Robert De Niro.
You're welcome, Neil. You are welcome because you wouldn't have watched this otherwise, and you will be grateful.
I'll be honest. I haven't heard of this one.
Man. Martin Brest directed it. He directed a lot of good movies. Beverly Hills Cop was one. This is a buddy movie, road movie. Charles Grodin is an accountant that was working for the mob, not realizing he worked for the mob. So he takes a bunch of their money and goes into hiding. But he had been arrested and there's a bond out on him. And the guy that took the bond out had no idea who he was. They call him the Duke, I think. And De Niro has to go get him. And the guy's like, it's just a midnight run. You'll be there. He's going to go to New York and bring him back to LA, and hijinks ensue. So,
all right. I'm excited.
I love this movie.
Robert De Niro comedy is not something you see very often. So,
and here's the thing. When he did this, he had done a Scorsese movie with Jerry Lewis, The King of Comedy, which was a very dark comedy, right? And not your, and then he did this. We didn't know. This was the Robert De Niro of Godfather 2, Raging Bull, Mean Streets, Taxi Driver. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We did not know he had this in him. It was such a revelation. Now, later on, he did Analyze This and That and Meet the Fockers and all that stuff, which I didn't really, that's not, they're fine. I mean, but not my kind of cup of tea, really. But man, Midnight Run, I just love it. And I think you will too. So I hope you guys watch it and are ready to join us again in 2 weeks. I really look forward to talking about this movie.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm always happy to see new movies that I haven't seen. So yeah, we were going to watch Midnight Run. So I need to find out what streaming service that's on.
Yeah, I meant to look it up. I looked it up and now I've forgotten. But yeah, it is streaming. It's out there. I'm
sure you have a DVD lying around somewhere.
I don't, because I gave it to a girl at work for Christmas because I'm like, you have to watch this movie, and it's $3.99 on streaming right now, and I know you won't get it. And I'm like, you still have a DVD player? And she's like, yes. I'm like, all right. So I gave my copy away, but because my DVD player is long gone. But yes.
It's okay. My DVD player is even more ancient. It's an Xbox 360, so we'll see what we can do. But yeah, we will watch. By the time we put this, I think catchers and pitchers will have reported.
Oh, that's right. Because right. This airs on February 1st, so it'll be the 15th, roughly, right? When we do our next episode 5.
Yeah, and I think they should be reported by then.
Yeah, so, I would think so. So that'll be a Thursday. They'll probably report on Sunday and Monday, that early part of that week, I would guess.
So we're close.
Baseball's almost back. I don't know why I'm excited, but I am.
We can't help it. We can't help it. But this is why we watch movies, to ease the pain.
Yeah. Right. Happy endings. Not those kind of happy endings, but right.
But
yes.
Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Doug, for your recommendation. And we will see you guys in 2 weeks. Let's go, Bucks.
Let's go, Bucks.
Hey, you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.